Greyhound Mike says, is there any truth to the comment my friend made? I don't know your friend, man. No, I'm just kidding. Says that I shouldn't buy from Guitar Center because they get the guitars that don't meet the quality requirements of other stores. I hear that all the time. You know who started that crap? Other stores. The mom and pops. It is such bull. It's such bull. There's no way. Let me explain the two things. Okay, so let me tell you what I don't know, and I'll tell you what I do know. Okay. What I don't know. I heard, just like you, that I heard that Costco and Walmart get the best produce. I heard that they buy so much of it that the farmers give them their best stuff. And then I heard that they get the worst produce because they buy so much of it that the farmers have to give them whatever they can to make the orders. Okay, I have no idea if that's true. So the reason why I tell you that is because I can tell you what's true in our industry. Guitar Center, like Sweetwater, like all the guys who can put in the big orders, they get whatever they want. Okay? Now, if you're asking me if Guitar Center was to say they wanted substandard product at some kind of discount, it's possible. Rumors all start because they either are true, have some truth, or just somebody has an agenda. In this case, there might be some truth. Like, for instance, a company might have felt wronged by how aggressive Guitar Center was on their pricing to get their pricing down with a vendor, and the vendor may have sent them substandard product and then told somebody like, yeah, I send Guitar Center my lower crap because they don't pay as well as my other vendors or my other dealers. And then maybe that translates. But I can tell you the Guitar Center, the volume they buy it, they just ship it out. Everybody just ships it out. It's not that controlled. So the answer is no. What is true, though, with Guitar Center is that they let everybody play with the stuff. And so a lot of the stuff you pick up in the stores has been played by 30 different people for 30 hours. And so it's going to have a used kind of feel, or, it's going to have issues because somebody's done stuff to it. So yeah, the answer is no. You don't have to. That's not true. And I'm not saying it's not true because I think it's not true. I know it's not true. I've had to work with a lot of companies. As one thing about the YouTube gig is, as I was taking off with YouTube, I had to find ways to make money besides YouTube. So I would start working, with companies, not doing YouTube, doing all kinds of other stuff I could do. And so one of the two companies I work for, I had to work with Guitar Center or work some stuff out with Guitar Center, and Guitar Center buys a lot and basically gets what they want. So there you go. The next part to Greyhound's question is, are Fender Custom Shop's current prices reflective of inflation? Yes and no. I mean, everything's going to be increased because of inflation, but if you want my opinion, it's just because they added a little in there too. I believe Fender as a whole, this is different than what I said about Guitar Center, where I kind of know something. This is just my feeling, my gut feeling feels like from what I've seen and how all companies have done pricing. Fender comes across like it added a little bit to what it needed to. So if it needed to increase prices 10%, it went ahead and did it for 15% to see, because they wanted the profit. So, and before somebody comments like, oh, sometimes they raise the price a little bit more to cover the losses and all that stuff, I'm factoring all that into. I'm saying, if you ask me, if Fender had to inflate the prices 10%, that covers everything and they were fine, I feel like they win an extra 5 on that just because they could, because they could do it. They can get away with it. He says, or have they opted to position themselves as a status symbol? Well, they are a status symbol. Fender and Gibson are the go-to brands. He says, now there are 2x the price of a Kiesel, a Badlands, and about that of a G&L also. Well, there's a reason for that too. Are all California made? So best comparison. Oh, okay. So what he's saying is they're twice the price as the Kiesel. Well, Kiesel guitars, so let's start with this. First of all, let's be very clear. Badlands is up the price dramatically. I mean, the last run of Badlands guitars is a 30% increase, 30% over the very first guitar. So you have to factor that in. The very first Redline, just to be aware, the very first Redline was $2,500. The Solid Color series was also $2,500, but the Redline had an $800 paint job in it. So you have to look at it like, they call it shrinkflation, right? That's what the Solid Color guitars were. They were the shrinkflation. You paid the same price, but you lost $800 in value. Plus, you didn't get the swag. Swag added another $200 in value. So they were $1,000 more if you factor that in, if you think it that way. So Badlands does have inflation. It's part of the market that's going on with all companies. But Kiesel, Badlands, and G&L all have something in common too, which is they're growing markets. G&L shouldn't be, because they've been around for a long time, but they are still growing markets, and they're not in the best of ways. So what I mean by that means they're not booming like Fender and those guys. So Fender and Gibson, they're going to charge whatever they want because they have a market share and they're doing great. Kiesel, Badlands, and G&L is struggling to grab more market. Now, keep in mind, Jeff, as you know, Kiesel is doing great, but he's still growing his business. I mean, his business has only been around since 2015 as Kiesel, so he's still got to grow it. So he's going to be aggressive, more aggressive than I think he even should be. He's really awesome pricing. So his prices, I think, are probably the most aggressive on the market in the USA, period. Okay. Rich, let me drink some water. He says, you were talking recently about Sam Ash having to improve their online presence moving forward. I bought some things from them recently and had one has to be returned, a new guitar with a sizable finish chip, and I realized what a precarious position the customer is in. I had to contact customers, I think service, send photos, and then await decisions by management team. I believe they are going to allow me to exchange the guitar, but it is unsettling while waiting for the decision. What if for some arbitrary reason they decided not to honor my request? They will. They'll take care of you. What is the recourse I would have? Your recourse is you have customer protection. You bought the product new. You will receive a new product or you will receive your money back. They don't have to have a policy for that. That's, assuming you haven't kept it for a reasonably long period of time. Dealing with Sweetwater is so much easier. It is. You have a person to work with, and they almost always give you confidence that they will do the right thing. I believe Sam Ash will continue to lose business unless they figure out how to give customers more confidence. I do not work for Sam Ash, Guitar Center, or Sweetwater. I don't work for any of these companies. None of these companies are giving me a check or a healthcare program or anything for any of this stuff. In some cases, they reach out. All those three companies. I have worked with all three companies in some degree to them sending product out for review or them, sponsoring a video by, giving me payment so I can sponsor some idea that I had for a video. And in some cases, giving me some kind of affiliate links. Now, I realize that's payment. So I'm not saying I've never been paid for them. What I'm saying is I don't work for them. That's not how my contracts work for them. The reason I tell you that is because I want you to understand that when I tell you that I've spent time at all these places, that Sweetwater is the best. It's not like they're my best friends. Like, I like them the best. They're the coolest dudes. Or, it's not that. I'm not saying, oh, wow, they are, whatever. They send me candy. It's not that. I'm telling you, as someone who had to do this as a small mom and pop, as someone who's worked with these bigger retail companies, and then when you go and watch how Sweetwater's running things, it is either the worst idea ever or it's the best idea ever. And here's the thing, they're winning, so I'm going to say it's the best idea ever. Yes. So the way they handle customer service is impressive. The way they handle everything is super impressive, to the point where you can see the amount of money they throw at it. And I don't know if it's the culture, although it seems a little bit of that. You have to understand, it's the same logic of Amazon. It's like, I bought this thing and then Amazon's just like, take it back, no problems, no questions, here's your new one, here's your money back. No, right? How you feel about that is irrelevant. The idea is that that is easy. Like you said, no one wants to feel like their money is trapped or their situation is bad because they just wanted to buy something to enjoy themselves. So Sweetwater, it's crazy to watch how they return products and how they do stuff. It's really efficient. Some of you are going to probably put comments because there's always somebody like, oh, I had a bad experience. You're going to have a bad experience. I'm not saying they don't have bad experiences. What I'm saying is that the amount of bad experiences to the volume they're doing are very small. It's very small. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I've been saying it. Look, I said this earlier about the market. I was screaming, literally. I used to yell in the mic more than I do now. I was yelling in 2019. 2019 is when I started. I started in 2019 by saying, you can go back to all my podcasts. All my stuff is documented, saying Sweetwater is going to crush all these guys. They're going to crush them. Not because Sweetwater was like cooler, or I liked their logo more, or I thought they had a better selection of guitars. I was just watching what they were doing going, this is insane. They are literally trying to beat everyone. They're not trying to match everyone. They're literally trying to own the end market. It's impressive on every level. Even if you don't like it, it's still impressive. So to answer your question, I think Sam Ash will take care of you. Yes, I'm sure it will be the situation you are telling me sounds a little frustrating for sure, but they will take care of you. And yes, I'm hoping that they are able to put more into that, put more energy into their web system. I've had a lot of people, when I talked about that a couple weeks ago, a lot of people were telling me like, Phil, I went on their website, it's fine. I'm like, yeah, you didn't buy from it though. You just went and looked at it. I'm fine with that. I'm not here to argue with you guys. I don't know everything. I'm not trying to come across that way. I'm trying to say like, I test things, and then this is how I feel about the tests I perform. And then somebody gives me an opinion about not doing it. It's hard for me to argue against you when I'm like, have you done it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, where am I supposed to go with that? You didn't try it. I tried it. This is my opinion. So as someone who's bought from all the stores, I will tell you the easiest to buy from and return is Guitar Center. They're the absolute easiest because I can buy from Guitar Center online and just go return it to a store. That's pretty damn efficient. I got an amp, so I bought an expensive amp from Guitar Center 2021. You'd have to go back to the podcast to talk about it. It's a very expensive amp. They shipped it to me, and they shipped it from a store, even though I bought it online as new in box, and it was missing the power cable, the foot switch, and I think something else. And it didn't have the original box. I didn't really care about the original box, but I was like, wait a minute, man, this thing was like $3,000. Are you kidding me? $3,000. It's like, so what was great was I didn't have to call, I didn't have to scream, I didn't have to get a shipping label, I didn't have to do anything. I just walked it down to the Guitar Center, and they just took it back and gave me a full refund on my card, and that was the end of it. So, I mean, that's really cool. Another cool thing was I was in San Diego for the Kiesel event, and I bought a PRS MT15, and it was a floor model, and it sounded great, so I bought it. But what was nice buying it was knowing that if I bought it, I had any issues, or if I didn't like it, when I got back home, I could just take it to the Guitar Center here and return it. So Guitar Center's got the return system down, probably the best because they got the locations. Then I would say Sweetwater in taking care of you, and then Sam Ash. In my experience from buying all three, that is the thing. And then I think Reverb's the third. Almost like Reverb is, whether you buy from somebody, obviously a personal person or a store, I feel like Reverb's always like you might as well almost give it up. And some people are going to say, no, Reverb service is great. Reverb customer service is great. But it's still tough. So there's a lot of things to pay attention to. If you enjoyed this podcast clip, you can watch the entire episode by clicking the link in the description or streaming it on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. You can also join it live every week, Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to see you there. Until next time, know your gear.